America does remember the hundreds of men used in research without their knowledge and consent. They believed they had found hope when they were offered free medical care by the United States Public Health Service. They were betrayed.
Throughout the ages, humanity has witnessed some truly grim events that unveil the ugliest aspects of human nature. These occurrences span various realms, such as society, politics, and science, laying bare some of the darkest chapters of our collective past. The purpose of this dialogue isn't just to startle, but to prompt deep reflection on the errors and shadows of history. Take, for instance, the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment, where approximately 600 black men were deceived into participating in a medical trial under the guise of receiving treatment, only to be left untreated for syphilis. Then there's Unit 731 during World War II, where the Japanese military subjected thousands to atrocious experiments. What truly drove these historical calamities? Let's find out. Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. In this chilling part of American history, around 600 black men from Alabama were lured into a medical research project under false pretenses. They were promised free treatment for what was vaguely termed bad blood. However, from 1932 for the next 40 years, these men unknowingly became subjects of a study. They were never informed about having syphilis, nor were they provided any treatment for it. What they believed to be a short-term program stretched on for decades. It wasn't until 1972 that the truth came to light, thanks to someone who spoke out. The repercussions of this experiment were profound, causing immense suffering not only for the men involved and their families, but also for the broader African-American community. This betrayal shattered trust in the medical establishment, leading to reforms in research practices such as the requirement for informed consent. Despite these changes, the memory of the Tuskegee experiment serves as a painful reminder of the exploitation that can occur in the name of science. Unit 731. Another harrowing case is Unit 731, a covert unit established by the Japanese military during World War II. This unit carried out savage experiments on thousands of individuals in China, including Chinese civilians and certain Allied prisoners of war. Led by General Shiro Ishii, Unit 731 exposed people to diseases such as plague, cholera, and anthrax. They conducted surgeries on live subjects without anesthesia to observe the effects of diseases internally. Additionally, they subjected individuals to extreme cold, to study frostbite, and administered lethal doses of X-rays. Shockingly, pregnant women were even forced to undergo surgeries to examine the effects of diseases on both mothers and their unborn babies. The actions of Unit 731 show us the depths to which humanity can plummet under the guise of scientific advancement. Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears marks a dark chapter in American history, vividly illustrating the tragic consequences of forced relocation and the callousness often inherent in government actions. In the 1830s, prompted by President Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act, numerous Native American tribes were uprooted from their homelands in the southeastern United States and compelled to journey to unfamiliar and unforgiving territories west of the Mississippi River. The Cherokee people were among the hardest hit, with 4,000 to 8,000 individuals, up to a quarter of their population, perishing from disease, starvation, and the brutal conditions of the forced march. This coerced displacement wasn't merely a logistical challenge. It was a deliberate act of dispossession, driven by the insatiable hunger of white settlers for the fertile lands of the Southeast and fueled by the dangerous ideology of manifest destiny. Atlantic slave trade. Similarly horrifying, but on an incomprehensibly larger scale, the Atlantic slave trade is one of the most appalling and extensive systems of human exploitation ever documented. Spanning from the 16th to the 19th centuries, European powers, notably Portugal, Spain, Britain, and France, orchestrated the mass abduction and forced transport of millions of Africans to the Americas, where they were ruthlessly enslaved. While conservative estimates suggest over 12 million Africans endured this fate, the true toll, factoring in those who perished during the brutal journey to the coast and the horrifying Middle Passage, marked by overcrowding, starvation, and disease, is immeasurably higher. The suffering of those already enslaved persisted, particularly in the United States, where it took a civil war to ultimately eradicate this abominable institution. Operation Northwoods. Operation Northwoods, proposed in 1962 by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, exposes a disturbing example of government institutions willing to manipulate public sentiment to advance their geopolitical agendas. This covert plan aimed to provoke a military strike against communist-led Cuba by orchestrating fabricated terrorist attacks on American soil, falsely attributed to Cuba. The proposed actions under Operation Northwoods were shockingly deceitful, including sinking ships carrying Cuban refugees, hijacking planes, and orchestrating bombings and shootings in U.S. cities. These planned actions constituted egregious breaches of trust and moral standards, manipulating public opinion with false pretenses to rally support for war. The witch trials. Driven by a blend of religious, economic, and social tensions, these trials disproportionately targeted women, exploiting the fear of witchcraft to assert control and influence over society. Often, these trials provided a platform for settling personal vendettas or assuaging anxieties by falsely accusing others of practicing witchcraft. It's profoundly disturbing to acknowledge that between 40,000 and 60,000 people, mostly women, were brutally over the centuries on mere suspicion of witchcraft. These women frequently became scapegoats for any misfortunes befalling the community. The methods of execution were barbaric and varied, including hangings, burnings at the stake, Stanford Prison Experiment. The Stanford Prison Experiment, spearheaded by Philip Zimbardo in 1971, sheds light on yet another unsettling facet of human behavior. This study, held in a simulated prison environment at Stanford University, divided 24 male students into guards and prisoners to probe the dynamics of power and role-playing within a prison context. Originally slated for 2 weeks, the experiment had to be terminated prematurely due to the disturbing and intense behaviors it incited. What's truly alarming about this experiment isn't just the harsh conduct of the guards or the passive compliance of the prisoners, but rather how swiftly ordinary, morally upright individuals can deviate from their usual demeanor under certain circumstances. Nanjing Massacre. Nanjing, then the capital of China, became a scene of unimaginable horror. Conservative estimates suggest that a minimum of 300,000 Chinese civilians and unarmed soldiers perished, with tens of thousands of women subjected to sexual violence. The city lay in ruins, with homes pillaged, set ablaze. This tragic event continues to cast a shadow. In the aftermath of World War II, certain nationalist factions in Japan either denied or downplayed the Nanjing Massacre. That's it for today. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more.